Hi guys, and welcome to my review of Battlefield Hardline. I'm going to pretty much be concentrating on the single player because this is kind of halfway towards being a first impressions video. So what I've played most of at this point is the single player. As you can see here, not entirely, but for the most part, yeah. So as always, let's start out with any of the stuff that I'm not quite happy with the game, and we'll start off with the fact that although it's not really technically a bad thing, it's just the way the game is, it's not going to be as full of action in the single player campaign as the normal ones which take place in actual war zones if you play the game properly. If you play the game properly, you'll be doing a lot more arresting people. It will be a lot more stealth based. So it's not going to be 100% action all the way through. With that as well, you don't get any grenades. There are no grenades in the main campaign because cops don't really carry grenades on a daily basis. I mean, that said, they don't really carry an assault rifle, but you know, there is a slight concession there, I suppose, towards making it a playable game. The driving, I've found, is still kind of... cars are very bouncy. They look very much like they're magnetically attached to the road. So they don't react in the same way as cars actually do. They kind of just stick dead flat. And they're a wee bit sluggish as well, so I'm not massively happy with them, but it's much more fast-paced than the average because these are supposed to be muscle cars, not big Humvees and military vehicles. I have also, it has to be said, experienced a glitch in this, in one of the missions where I think a couple of different factors kind of came together and they stuck one of the characters in place. And even after restarting that part of the level from the last checkpoint, it didn't help. So I had to actually restart the mission completely from the start. Luckily enough, it wasn't actually very far in, so it's not that bad. But yeah, the good things about this game are the fact that the story is, I found, very good. The characters are likeable people who you actually can get behind. They're not one-dimensional kind of cardboard people who you have no kind of feelings towards whatsoever. You actually want these guys to get where they're going and achieve what they need to do. It's also, the story isn't quite as serious as your normal Battlefield game. It's not exactly Bad Company style comedy, but at the same time it's not quite as serious and po-faced as the average Battlefield game, which takes place in war zones where there's not really much in the way of scope for comedy. What you're actually seeing here is the arrest mechanics taking place. The arrest mechanics are another good thing about the game. Being about police, cops and robbers, the game has got an arrest mechanic instead. I mean, this actually, all of this gunfire could have been avoided if I'd have just managed to not be seen. But yeah, so the arrest mechanic is actually how you're meant to play the game. You are supposed to try and keep the action to a minimum and get the most amount of points by arresting people instead. If you shoot people, if you kill them, you don't get any points towards your expert level, which is basically how you unlock new weapons for the single player campaign. It's like experience points. Your expert points, the more you get, the better the weapons you get. So yeah, you are supposed to actually try and arrest people. There is also, to move into that, you'll see me throw shell casings every so often. That's to distract enemies. Because this is a much more stealth-based game. Much more stealth-based. The mechanics are, for the most part, geared towards keeping things as stealthy as possible. You are supposed to try and stay hidden as much as possible in this, which is why, unlike your average Battlefield game, most of the missions will be about sneaking instead of just all-out combat. So, yeah, that's another good thing that I like about this. Another small detail that I actually quite liked that lends a bit of credence to the fact these people are supposed to be cops is the fact that your primary weapon is actually what would normally be your sidearm. It's a pistol, or it goes up to pretty much about as heavy as a machine pistol, like a Mac-10. That's about as heavy as your primary weapon gets. So you won't be running around with a shotgun and an assault rifle. You will have one secondary weapon, which is any of the bigger guns, right up to a machine gun. So you still get some of the classic big boy guns. But yeah, your primary weapon is the sidearm that you normally get, the pistol.
It's Kevin Oster. O-S-T. Yeah, hi.
It does, when the action kicks off though, it has to be said, it does still play like a Battlefield game. Everything's very fluid. The enemies do actually think about what they're doing. The AI is very good. And it's pretty damn easy to get caught out.
Yeah, no problem.
The one thing I will say is they added a couple of things into the game which aren't really that useful gadget-wise in the single-player campaign, aside from a few areas where you have to use them, and they are the grapple gun and the line launcher. The line launcher is basically, it gives you a zip line down from a pole right the way down to a lower point. You can't fire it upwards, only ever down. What you're seeing here is actually one of the other mechanics that I quite like. That was the evidence collection. As opposed to the normal way of doing things, which is you go around and you pick up laptops or you pick up tablets or whatever and they've got intel on them, or in some games it's been files, like paper files, doesn't matter. In this, you actually go around and collect intel instead, which counts towards completing case files. Case files give you battle packs, which are for multiplayer. They come in gold, silver or bronze, depending on what you've done. You finish a level, you get bronze. You finish a case file, you get silver. I don't know what the condition is for gold. I think probably game completion, completing the campaign, is going to give you gold. But in multiplayer they actually unlock things like perks, for instance, patches, occasionally weapons. I haven't actually found a weapon yet in any of them, so it's all been perks, paint jobs, and patches at this point. 3Ps. So yeah, I do really genuinely like the way this game works. The lack of action though, and the fact that you actually have to mess up for the most part. I mean, the option is there. You can play through it with just as much action as you want as the normal game, but it just basically means you have to go in shooting every time, and that's not really how you're meant to play this. So that's why pretty much all of my sections of game here that you've seen have been based around stealth. Because that's how you're supposed to play this game. And I do actually like that. It works well for what it's supposed to be. So yeah, I do like it. Well worth a look.